Good morning, everybody. How are you? It's a pleasure to be able to see you again. So, today we have a very interesting conversation, right? And the question is this. So, do you believe that the rush to renewable would cripple Africa? That's actually the question that is actually bringing us today, this afternoon, right? Because I must admit, I read these comments yesterday and it actually got me thinking. And that to me, it's a very good question to have. And I wanted just to give my opinion on the question and see what you guys are thinking. So, what about you? What are you thinking about that? What is your opinion? I can see it generated a lot of reactions. What are you thinking? This is what I like us to discuss today. But before I do that, let me first of all again reintroduce our platform. So we are Renewables in Africa. So and my name is Tony Teo. I'm the founder and CEO of this company. And our idea is very simple: is to demystify the renewable energy sector for you, so that it makes it seamless, easy for you to connect and to actually engage. Whether you are an investor, you say, hey, I want to pour my money into renewables, but I'm just sitting a little bit on the fence. I like to get a lot more information to see whether it's good for me to be able to invest or not. So here you're going to find all the information that you're looking for, and you then able to decide whether or not that's the right thing for you to do. Oh, you may be thinking, listen, Tony, so I'm a professional in the sector, right? But I like to find out a little bit more about renewables energy because I don't know enough about it. Yeah, but I feel interested. I feel compelled to join the momentum. But how should I go about it? How can I get all the information? Don't look too far, guys. In here, this is exactly what I like us to do. I like us to be able to give you all the information that you need and you're able to make your own decision. Or you may be thinking, I am a business, you know, I'm doing well, I'm doing great, but I can see what is happening and I'm asking myself a question. Should I believe what I'm hearing? Should I not believe it? I believe into it. How can I contribute? In here, you're going to find all the information you're looking for. Just look at all the videos that we've been releasing so far. And I'm pretty much certain you'll find at least a couple that will be interesting for you, right? And then once you've seen that, there's three things that I like you to do for us, if that's okay. So the first thing, if you haven't done it yet, I'd like you to subscribe right now to one of our channels. Why am I saying one of our channels? Because we're actually broadcasting from 5 channels simultaneously. So as I'm speaking to you today, you can see me on LinkedIn, you can see me on YouTube, you can see me on Facebook, you can see me on Twitter, and you can see me on Telegram, right? Those 5. So there's no reason whatsoever for you to tell me I can't get involved. You definitely access to have to all those platforms. Just pick and choose the one that is speaking to you the best. Ideally, I like you to sign up to all of them. Yeah. And then move to the second part. The second part, what is that? First of all, after you subscribe to the platform, and you also click the notification button, especially on YouTube, because you want to get to know when is that we're actually releasing videos, which we're doing twice a week, right? On a Wednesday and on a Sunday, and we're about to add a third date. But for the moment, let's just go ahead with what we have today. So the second thing, leave a message. Leave a message. This is what I want. I want to read from you. I want to hear from you. And I want to know what is that you're thinking. And I want to find out whether what we're doing is in tune with what you're thinking or maybe not. Or do you have any additional topic that you want to discuss? This platform is for you. You don't need to agree with me. You simply want to come and discuss, right? And as I'm talking to you, I can see I've already received one comment. That's what I love and I like, right? That's Hugh from Cote d'Ivoire. Hey, Hugh, pleasure to see you. Excellent, Hugh. Have you subscribed already? If you haven't done it, do it right now on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Telegram. Do it, please, and leave us a question. Tell us what you want to hear. And then the third thing that I like you to be able to do, just share the video so that you can get to people that are who are interested but are not aware yet of us having those live on a regular basis. And the idea is very simple, as I'll say. We want to make it simple and seamless for you to engage, right? This is the idea. Now, I'm hoping that this is very clear, right? And again, I'm delighted to be able to talk to you. And let's come back now to today's topic. So let me just first of all give you a little bit of a context. So as I was doing, I'm always like to engage with people on the various platforms that I mentioned. And yesterday there was this very interesting post that came around, and then It's my brother. So NJ Ayuk, I have to say, I don't know him personally. A lot of respect for him and for what they're doing. And today, what I want to do is just to discuss about ideas, confronting ideas, right? That's really what is all about. So all in pure respect from one another, right? So I'm hoping this is very, very clear. So the post was actually saying that the rush to renewables is actually crippling Africa or would cripple Africa, or at least that's what was the insinuation. That's the way I've understood it. First of all, in case I've misunderstood it, I do apologize. Let me just make the argument based on what I have understood. And again, I'll be very happy to be corrected if ever I say something that is not accurate, right? So please feel free to challenge me, and that's what it's all about. I simply wanted to present my position, which I believe will be also the position of a few, or at least people even that follow us. They may share the same kind of opinion. So the idea was to say that renewables and the rush towards renewables will cripple Africa. And I want to tackle that on different parts, right? And the reason is we need to understand exactly what we're talking about here. I want to talk about the rush part. So what are we talking about rush? I want to talk about as well the economic argument implication, and I also want to finish off my argument talking about the contribution of Africa towards the CO2 emission, the global one. Yeah, and based on that, I guess, and I'm hoping that you will understand from where I am coming from. Is it okay? Excellent. So what I've done, because I knew that that's a very interesting topic. Why am I saying that? Simply because we have COP27 around the corner, and it's going to be in Egypt, right? Sharm el-Sheikh is in Africa, and some call it Africa Cup, or not, right? But clearly, it has an importance for the continent, and that's actually even why it's triggering the conversation today and the very conversation, right? And people have different opinion around it. What I've done, I've prepared a short presentation to illustrate what I'm about to tell you. And as I say, it's important. So when we're debating these questions, which is an excellent question, I have to say, right? We need to be able to tackle those questions and present and confront ideas versus ideas, and bring, where possible, fact, right? So that we can actually depassionate the topic, right? So that's what I want to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to share a presentation, run through that. And after that, I suspect there may be some question. I'll be happy and very pleased to answer them. Yeah, and that's what we're gonna do. But in the meantime, as you're doing it, leave me a comment, leave me a question, and share. Right. So let's go and go with that presentation that I have today. Yeah. So a minute, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see. Okay. I believe we can all see, right? So that's the poster that I had. You can see this man that seems to be looking like me, maybe my twin brother, is actually sitting there thinking. Okay, so let's dive into the topic very quickly. So, as I say, I want to address the first part is talking about the rush towards renewable, right? It's the impression that we're going too fast, yeah? So renewable is taking over and it's not good. That's the way I understand it a little bit in the implication. So what I have in here is actually to show what is the picture as it stands today regarding the energy supply from in Africa that we see. That was data that comes from 2018 and then from IRENA and the AFDB. And what we could clearly see here, there is a big part of it that comes from fossil fuel. That's for primary energy supply. And obviously you have biofuel and waste that's considered renewable. That's fine, clear. Okay, that's fine with it. Now, if I confront that with, because I always also wanted to provide, let's say, different sources so that one cannot argue that what I'm presenting is kind of biased, right? So one is ARENA AFDB, another one is BP, right? BP, which I believe we can all trust, I hope. And BP, obviously, is major oil and gas player. And when you look at the current energy mix here, right? So you could clearly see that the portions talking about renewable, it's minuscule, actually. In fact, the biggest renewable that people are not aware in the continent tends to be hydro, right? That's the one thing that we need to understand. So that's the picture as it looks like a little bit. Now, we may be looking at that and thinking, oh, wow, I mean, renewable is taking over. We going too fast. I think we need to slow it down a little bit because all of a sudden we're going to find ourselves over the top and we're not going to be able to manage it, right? So that's the implication. Now, if we're looking at over the last 10 years, that source coming from Arena, again, if people don't believe that source, no problem. More than happy to look at others if they have, right? So, and what we're looking at here, it's the progression, the evolution of the Africa energy from 2010 up to 2019. Yeah, and you could clearly see from yourself, that's more from the power sector, electricity generation. So first of all, I'm just going to make it fast. When we talk about energy is more than just power. Yeah? You also have transport, but you also have heating, or what's the other one? I think it's power, transport, I think heating, right? So if I'm correct. So yeah, hopefully that's fine. So, but let me just talk about power, right, to illustrate this point. But the same can kind of be replicated for other sectors. And the reason I'm talking about power is because power, that's where we tend to see more renewables compared to the others. So what we see here over the last 10 years, this is what the evolution has been. First of all, as you could see, it is significantly powered by fossil fuel, right? And if you're looking at renewables, besides hydro, which is actually even the original renewable source that we've been using all the way since independence, the new renewable source that we tend to refer to is actually solar and wind, right? That's what we will see. So first of all, if we're talking about the rush towards renewable, I personally don't see any rush here, because if you see that any additional, because the hydropower has been more or less stable. It's been here for a little while. And actually it's been here, like I said, ever since we had independence. And you can see how actually the new renewables, if you want, is progressing. And it's tiny. But obviously the recommendation to get more renewable basically into the sector has been coming ever since we had the Kyoto Protocol, which is 2008, more or less, right? But look at how the progression has been. This is to say that for anything to change, you need a tremendous amount of effort for people to start moving. So if you're hearing people banging about renewables, it's because we know and they know it takes a significant amount of time for people to move, simply because when you're comfortable in the system, how would you want to change? If the cake that you're eating is sweet, how would you change it all of a sudden because somebody's telling you, actually be careful, you actually may have a little bit of diabetes. You know, that is a potential risk. You won't stop it like that, yeah? So it takes some time. And also, if you look, even also looking at the oil and gas part, it's more or less stable, and gas is actually increasing. So are we seeing any big risk here? I don't think so, right? But clearly what we know is actually the situation as it stands at the moment clearly hasn't solved some of the pressing issues that we have. So we need to question the system. So here, we're not talking about all of a sudden collapsing all the oil and gas part, right? But it's about readjusting the mix. That's what the question is all about, right? Because clearly the system, we all agree right now, it's not good enough. So why am I saying it's not good enough? And actually, even before I go into that, drilling even more, if you're looking at the power, the installed capacity in Africa, we talked about 232 gigawatts, right? This is actually what we have here. Again, data that's coming from Arena. And you can see, you always see 5 blocks in Africa: North, East, Central, West, and Southern. You can see obviously how it's actually distributed, right? You will see that actually the biggest part of renewable will be East and Central Africa. And the reason you're seeing a big portion of renewables here is because of hydro. People don't know that. But 22% of power comes from renewable, and 18% pretty much it's actually coming from hydro. That has always been there. So when we're talking about renewables, saying that it may actually disturb the current system, be specific. What kind of renewable? Because the implication is also that solar and wind are intermittent, so they can't fit in with the grid. Whoa, the news that I just want to say, renewables, it's more than just solar and wind. That's number one. You have geothermal, you have hydro, perfectly capable to actually provide a base load, which is actually what they're doing in many countries, right? So this is actually one question that I think it's important to understand, not just wrap around everything and call it renewable and not actually specify exactly what is really the point. And I'm also saying, what we are saying here, I don't see a big threat or all of a sudden things taking over. It's because it takes time for the inertia to change. That is actually what we're talking about here. And like I say, the situation as we see right now has not been good enough. So why am I saying it's not good enough? We can all recognize that 10 years ago, we had about slightly less than 600 million, without electricity. Fast forward, 2020, 2022 is even going up. In fact, it's been going down a little bit, but obviously with the pandemic, I think the latest report, Africa Energy Outlook from the IEA, is actually demonstrated that it's going to be ticking up a little bit once again. Yeah. So this is actually what we need to solve. So what I'm simply saying here, the system that we have right now has been ultra dominated by fossil fuel and oil and gas, has not solved this problem. Yes, we had part of renewable in here already with hydro, but the system currently as we stand has not solved this problem. So reviewing and revisiting the new system is not, I think I would struggle to understand how can we think that all of a sudden it's gonna mess around everything else, where we know that the system because what we have at the moment is oil and gas. That's what we have, and it hasn't solved this problem. Clearly, because there's another way to look at that. And on top of that, yes, energy access is probably the first thing you want to be looking at. Absolutely agree. This, I would absolutely agree with that. But the other thing is, we need to compare that as well is, what is the best way to move forward to close this gap? Bear in mind that we can't take completely out of the equation what are the other potential risks. Another one potential risk, which is very serious, is the risk of climate change, right? But before I go into that, what I wanted to show here as well is the disparity for the different regions, right? So I know North Africa, they have almost full electricity. That's fine. They had oil and gas they've been using that well. Excellent. That's great. The other region, sub-Saharan Africa, is actually not necessarily really the case. But you have countries there that had good resource in terms of fossil fuel, but have not been able to close the gap. That's something also that we need to recognize. What is making us think that all of a sudden, because they're going to have more gas, they're going to close it, whereby they've had it for some time now, they see haven't closed completely the gap, right? So that's one thing that we need to integrate, and because basically the risk that we also need to be looking at is the risk of climate change. So I know when I come to this point, and I could see that in some of the comments that I've already been started exchanging with my fellow colleagues. So I won't name him. I think you probably see him from the comment where I believe he probably won't believe those data. Everybody's free to believe what they want to believe. It's a little bit difficult for me to challenge him right now because that's a whole debate on itself. I personally believe into that, and I've been looking at the data, and I think it's compelling enough. And in the IPCC report, the sixth assessment, so they've detailed quite extensively what are the risks that actually the continent, Africa, is already seeing. And probably I want to stop. Let me just show, let's see if I can show this report a little bit. Okay. Hopefully I have some question. Okay, so let me share the document. Yeah, share my entire screen. Take it here. Okay, superb. Yeah, the report will be here. It's available for everybody to go and see. If you go to the IPCC, you're looking at assessment report, and look, obviously they have a specific document for each of the region, right? They tell you what is the impact that they see in every continent. Every continent is affected, and what are the consequences that we already seeing in the continent. And this is my other point where I want to tap into the issue with regard to the risk both the financial risk, but also the environmental risk. So all those environmental issues that you see in here happening from West Africa to Central Africa to East Africa to Southern Africa, these are tremendous amounts of financial risk that we actually do not realize. And now let me come back quickly to the point with regard to the, hopefully we can still see that. Let me just stop it for a second so that hopefully I can make this point. So regarding at this point, talking about the contribution of Africa towards the global CO2 emissions. Yes, absolutely correct. Africa, it's only 3%. Some would say 4%. Absolutely correct. That is true. I can't challenge that, and I don't even want to challenge that because it is true. Yeah, basically based on the stat that we have. But and the argument is because we're only 3%, we may not be doing as much effort as other people. I also agree with that. Not be doing as much effort doesn't mean not be doing effort at all. Completely different. And one thing I just want to say in here is, if you take a country like France or even the UK, the France, for example, I know France, the contribution to the CO2, the global CO2 emissions, 1%. But the country France experienced a lot of challenges with regard to the climate that is changing and is already disrupting a lot the ecosystem. I'm simply saying here, you may have a small contribution to the CO2 emission globally. It still doesn't mean that you'll be immune to the consequences that you're facing. And in fact, because of that, would you want to make the situation worse or better? Right? It's almost like you have, as I say, usually represented like, imagine like you having like a pot, on the that's on the on fire, right? You're boiling water, right? That's what you're doing, and you already have water that is almost overflowing, but not quite, right? And all of a sudden, you're saying that the water, the quantity of water that is in the pot, right? I'm not the one responsible to have poured it into the pot. That's true. I found it like that. But does it mean that, if I add the small bit on top, it's gonna overspill, and when it overspill, it's not gonna affect me because I've only added a smaller piece? This is actually what I want to say. It's a collective responsibility. If you take the pot as the planet Earth, yes, the large majority of CO2 emission doesn't come from Africa. Absolutely agree. But even the bit that Africa will add can actually make things overspill and get the situation out of control. This is what it's all about here. And that's what I don't hear enough about. I don't hear people talking enough about. Your contribution may be small, yes, like France is just 1%, but the consequences already affecting you tremendously. So do you want to make the situation worse or better? Right? Now, whose responsibility is it to take more action? Absolutely, we all agree. It has to be the West. No, nobody would challenge that. But Africa has a role to play. That's the way I see the situation. Okay, let me just make the final the final point that I wanted to present. Oh, come on, Tony. Hopefully I've not lost it. Yeah. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm probably gonna go and share my screen. Entire screen is gonna be no, sorry. I lost my. Oh yeah, here it is, Tony. Oh come on, it's moving all over the place. Okay, let me share that. Okay, I'm just gonna go and share. Hopefully, it's okay. Yep, I think it's okay. We're back on track. So that's what I talked about the IPCC. For the economic argument, right? It absolutely makes sense, right? So basically, studies have also shown that it's now becoming cheaper to get to generate power with renewables. It's actually at least competitive, and in some region, it's actually cheaper to produce power from renewable energy than other sources. So clearly the economic argument is also there. Now, I'm sure you may be adding in the fact that this is only the generation part. Nothing about the transmission part and also the integration part, and also having the grid who is actually upgraded. Absolutely true. But here's the thing. This is also the same for conventional sources anyway. We need to improve the transmission system. We need to make sure that we upgrade our grid because they're too old these days. They're not maintained. That's where actually most of the problem actually coming from. So that part, it's the same, whether you go fossil fuel or you go renewables. But one thing is actually certain: in also to deploy the grid over the the grid all over Africa in some region, it's just financially not viable, because of the density. But again, that's a question we can dive into a little bit more. But clearly, for me, at least the economic argument, when we look at that, it does make sense a little bit, right? So, and I'm taking a lot of time. Very quickly, it's also to say that going forward, just to say that as well, that there is no question about rushing in and completely collapsing, the fossil fuel part. Like I say, so a good 70, even 75% come for fossil fuel. When people are saying no new oil and gas, it doesn't mean that all the other plants will stop functioning all of a sudden. No, a lot of them still have a long lifetime, but things can be managed. And clearly as well, I'm also very practical, probably because of my engineering side. I know that, yes, fossil fuel still has a part to play, at least in Africa, that's for sure. And especially gas, right? For the base load equation, clearly also has a part to play. That's why you could see gas keep on increasing. And it's also fair to say that all the different partners of the continent need to recognize that. I agree. But renewable is not the one crippling the system. That's the point I want to make here. And people also have been making projection on how the energy transition can look like going forward up until 2050. Again, those are data that come from BP, another big oil and gas player. We're more or less here, 2020. You can see here, oil and gas dominate. The idea is just to progressively, as I say, maybe reduce the oil part. But you can see the gas it's increased, the oil part, but also the coal part. But the gas is increasing. Yeah. So that's actually what the debate really is all about. But as you could see, look at how tiny renewable is even in 2030. This is not the part that's causing the problem. This is actually what I want to say, right? That has to be very very clear. So now again, that's the one before was just for the generation, the production, actually, I said, and obviously that's the graph for the consumption. These are not my data. Those are data that are obviously coming from other places. And this one in particular, that's for the BP Energy Outlook for 2020, available for anybody else to look at and to see. Last but not the least, I've wrote a small piece. It's in French, but you're more than happy to read that. That's obviously on the Forbes magazine, where I was talking about the choice between energy transition and energy access, and giving again my opinion. So, but in this live, what I've done, I'm hoping, was to demonstrate to you why I believe that renewables should not be considered as the part that is actually crippling the system. Clearly, I don't think we could make this argument, honestly. But this is my opinion. Again, like I say, I respect other people's views. Happy to discuss about that. We should discuss about it. We should look at that. We should look at the situation, basically, the way it is, but not worse than what it is. But we should be having this debate for COP27 for sure, but even beyond, right? And we should not also believe that because some people may be pro-renewables, they are instrumentalized by other people behind or pulling the strings. There's the conspiracy. I think it's fair to have the argument between adults and being able to make the case or not. So this is what I wanted to say. Very happy to be challenged, very happy to look at counter argument, and very happy to respond as well. Yeah, I'm probably going to finish there. So hopefully that was actually quite interesting enough for you guys. Let me just jump and see if there is any question that people people will have, right? So yeah, so I have received a few comments here. So usually what I do at this stage of the live is just show look at people questions and respond to them, right? So I know I've been a little bit long today, but this is a topic that is important to me, hopefully important to you, and we should discuss about that. So okay, so let's have it. So we have Hughes who say hello from Côte d'Ivoire, Hughes Angbe. Hopefully that's why. Hey Hughes, how are you? Bonjour. Comment vas-tu? So yeah, I think Hugh here is just saying yes because I was asking Hugh, hey, have you subscribed to our channel? Have you left a comment, which you did? Have you shared it? Hugh, I'm just gonna go and check it whether you share it, right? But thank you for connecting. Thank you for following us. I definitely will appreciate that. And if there is anything else you'd like us to discuss, to explore, please let us know, and I'd be very happy to respond to that. So, and then I have Islam, Africa main source of solar energy. Africa, okay, I guess you want to say Africa is the main source of solar energy. Well, let me maybe correct it, if you allow me, please. In terms of the potential, yes, Africa is the biggest, has the biggest potential for solar. In terms of the actual industry as it stands today, Africa solar represent no more than 2%. I think it's about 1%, 1.5%. Yes, that's what it is. And this is also why people that say, listen, looking at, and the solar is the one energy source, run energy source that is present across the continent, whatever country in Africa. If a country like the UK, or like Germany can properly exploit solar and make it a big industry, come on, guys. Africa has no excuse not to make it a big industry, right? And that's the one source you have everywhere. All the other sources of energy, or at least with the current technology, that level of technology that we have, all the other sources of energy are actually located in different regions. But solar, it's widespread. That's the reason it also dominates in terms of the industry. So that's why I wanted to correct Islam, just saying that, yeah, when you say main source of energy in terms of potential, but not in terms of the actual industry as it stands at the moment. So hopefully that's clear. So then I have, okay, does it show? Let me see. That's Bongiwa. Yeah, Bongiwa Grosh. So hello from South Africa. Hey, how are you, my friends? So I should be in South Africa in March next year. So hopefully we'll meet. Yeah, great to see you, and thank you for following. This is the thing, we love it because actually people following us not from East Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, North Africa, but also Southern Africa, and we love it. Yeah, thank you for that. We appreciate. So we have Joseph Kruma. Hey, Joseph, I've seen you already here. So you've already been part of a previous live. And as I was saying to you before, so with Kruma, definitely I know where you come from. I know where you come from. Yeah, but hello and thank you for attending. Yeah, good. So, and then I have Hughes. Then again, it's going further and say, I share the idea of mix of energy, the use of renewables energy and natural gas, but except coal for Africa. Because as a matter of fact, Africa has a lot of challenge in terms of financial. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I think that's exactly the view I wanted to expose here. I also wanted to make sure that people don't perceive renewable energy as the bad boy here. Definitely not. According to the fact, it's not. The situation that we're facing at the moment has not been caused by renewable at all. Because if you actually even saying to people, you've caused issue with the CO2, the biggest part of CO2 emission come from you have to fix it. If we're looking at the problem of Africa, the legacy system, it's not renewable. I think some country was, but not all the countries, yeah? And then, and I'm saying some country have already a lot of fossil fuel, but they still have a lot of problems, especially they have not been able to close complete the gap. In fact, besides North Africa, which has solved the issue of electricity access, all the other region of Africa, no, have not done it. And many of them have a lot of fossil fuel resources. So renewable is not a bad boy here. So, or the bad girl. What is your opinion about the development of green hydrogen in Africa? So that's huge. So green hydrogen, definitely, I think it's a very good topic to have, and one thing that is clearly happening, and the region being exactly so as we're moving towards a better energy mix for the continent. I know some people don't like the term energy transition. Personally, for me, I don't get bogged down with terminology. I really don't care. Call it the way you want to call it. But for me, we need to have a mix of energy. That's what it is. Simply because the different regions of Africa have different resources. Like I said, there are some regions that don't have enough fossil fuel, right? So they may want to exploit what they have as opposed to go and chase what other people have, right? So clearly, we're talking about the mix here. So hydrogen has the potential. So if properly exploited, to solve part of the equation in terms of providing base load power, right? And replace progressively, and that's what we call gas transitional, or at least that's personally how I like to say it, as a transitional fuel, progressively taking take over. The trouble is, obviously, at the moment, it still costs a lot of money. We're still early in the development. In fact, hydrogen as a technology is not new. What is new is actually the source to produce hydrogen that we want to decarbonize to make it green, right? To turn it from brown to green. So that's what the question is here. So should it happen in Africa? Absolutely. And actually, that's where you can even use some areas and use that, create project that are going to develop a lot of hydrogen that could potentially be used internally, but most importantly, export market, and that's what is the case at the moment. You have countries like Namibia, definitely it's a position itself, to be a big player there. Morocco as well, Egypt, yeah. So hydrogen for export market makes sense. For internal market, we need to properly understand who's going to use it, and it also has to be properly designed, right? So, and also a good collaboration between countries. But just to make it short, it's a good thing. Yeah, I think that it should happen. And Mr. Hughes was on fire on our thing. He had again another questions. It's an energy vector. So I'm not sure I understand what you mean by energy vector, but I don't know if you're talking about, oh, is it hydrogen, solar? No idea. So you may want to clarify here. So this is what I had to say for today. So if there is any more questions, so very happy to take them. But I know that I've taken quite a lot of your time already. I rather keep it to 30 minutes or more or less. But like I say, when you get interesting topic and you have interesting colleagues, brothers, sisters, bringing up a topic that you believe needs to be discussed, it has to be tackled. So I wanted just to make, obviously, this argument as well. Again, I'm just going to say, so this is a debate of ideas, nothing personal at all. And not obviously, if it becomes personal, that's something I'm not going to caution, that's for sure. But we're confronting ideas. And it's also, like I say, when we're making statement, it's maybe better as well to provide the fact that go with that. So that could be helpful to look at that. So I'm sure if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to say I'm wrong. At the moment, I believe that the picture that I saw, what I say, I did not agree with that. I thought it was a little bit misleading. I'm talking about the picture, not the person. Picture was a little bit misleading, so I thought it was good to set the record straight, or at least from somebody who believes into renewable, for somebody who believes into energy mix for Africa, and somebody who believes into the open dialogue, right? So that's what I had to say for today. I don't think there's any more questions. And I believe that all of you were actually quite happy. The good thing, or the great thing that I want to finish off in saying is, first of all, if you haven't done it yet, still time to subscribe to our channels, all our different channels, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Telegram. Leave a message, please, because I want to know what you think. Even if you're just catching this video, on replay, leave me a message. leave a comment and challenge me. Very happy to do that. Obviously, share with me what other topic you want us to discuss, and I appreciate that. And share over the video with other people, right? So I would love it. Last but not the least, just to say that, hey, next Friday, I'm actually going to start a new show, but it's going to be called Renewables and Money. It's all about talking about the business of running a business into renewables energy. Because a lot of people may want to get into the sector, they just don't know whether they could make money and how they could make money and how you run a renewable energy business. So a lot of it will come from my personal experience, having run or running the company for the last 6 years, going through a lot of challenges, going through a lot of business models, but still believing and still pushing ahead. And I thought I just want to create a space where we can sort of have the discussion and see how are we doing it and how can we improve ourselves. Because that's the thing. At the end of the day, that's what we want to do. Also, we want to help you. If you have a great product, a great service, how do you make it visible? How people know that, hey, here is something I want to tap into. And once you make it visible, how do you make sure that you can sell to people? You can improve yourselves. That's what I want to talk about. And that's what I'm going to dedicate the new space for. But as usual, just when I want to go, I have another question. Let me take it. Let me take it. See if there is another question. So, oh, it's my very good friends, Abdul. Abdul say all the commercial green hydrogen producing technology require the inoculation of energy to trigger the production of green hydrogen. I mean, MF, MFC, MEC, photobiological processes. I think, Abdul, you're very right. In fact, you seem to know a lot about the topic. So let me say something like that directly to you. I like to have you as a guest as in one of our show, and we're going to be talking about that. And I like you to teach us and to tell us all that you know, right? So even me, I'll be very happy to learn more about it on this topic. So hopefully that's cool with you, right? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've taken quite a bit of time, so I actually need to go to a christening right now to the party. But as usual, it was important for me to connect with you, to share with you, and then yeah, it was a pleasure. As I usually say, you have a great day, and may the sun be with you. Gepelo, which means thank you in my language. Alang.